You ever see a brand new building with, I don't know, a massive crack in it and wonder what happens next, especially when it ends up in court? Well, today we're going to find out exactly how the legal system puts a price on bad construction. Let's get into it.
It really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And sometimes it's literally millions of dollars on the line. So you can't just, guess. How does a court figure out what's fair when the building itself is basically on trial?
And that right there is the heart of the problem. In a big legal battle, you're going to have two sides with really compelling stories. But a judge can't rule on stories. They need cold, hard, expert-driven facts. They need some kind of bridge that connects the legal arguments in the courtroom to the physical reality of what happened on the construction site.
So what is that bridge? It's a formal process called construction appraisal. And no, it's not just a quick walkthrough. This is a super meticulous, four-step investigation designed to give the court the clear, unbiased information it absolutely needs to make a call.
Okay, so what you're looking at here is the official roadmap, straight from the industry playbooks. You can see how it all flows. It starts over on the left with the two parties in the lawsuit asking for an appraisal. Then it moves through the core steps in the middle. That's the preparation, the on-site visit, and the report writing. And it all ends on the right with the final judgment. The whole system is designed for clarity, from start to finish.
Let's break that down real quick. Step 1 is preparation. That's where the expert gets all the documents together and maps out the whole investigation. Step 2, the on-site investigation. This is where they get their hands dirty, really examining the evidence firsthand. Then you've got Step 3, report writing, where all those findings get crunched into a super detailed, calculated document for the court. And finally, Step 4 is supplementation. Think of it as a follow-up, where the report can be updated or clarified if the court has more questions.
So we've got the process down, but who's the person actually doing all this? Well, that brings us to the expert appraiser. And let me tell you, their role is so much more important than just crunching numbers.
You see, the appraiser is basically an assistant to the court, and the rules they have to follow are incredibly strict. First and foremost, they have to be completely neutral. They've got to have the right expertise for that specific case, steer clear of any conflicts of interest, and work with the court to figure out what really needs to be appraised. Their job isn't just to answer the court's questions, it's to help the court ask the right questions in the first place.
This quote really says it all. Fairness and professionalism must be guaranteed. See, the appraiser doesn't work for the person suing or the person being sued. They work for the court. And that integrity, that commitment to being unbiased, that's the very foundation that a fair judgment is built on.
Okay, so we've got a clear process and a neutral expert. That should mean we get one single, unchanging right answer, right? Well, what if I told you that what all these highly trained professionals agree on can actually change, and change dramatically over time?
Some researchers decided to put this whole idea to the test. They set up a study to see if expert opinions on some really fundamental appraisal methods had changed over 8 years. And, well, what they found was pretty surprising.
To figure this out, they used something called a longitudinal study. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. All it means is that they asked a big group of construction experts the same exact questions at 2 different points in time, years apart, just to see how the professional consensus was shifting.
All right, let's get into the data. This table here compares survey results from almost 500 experts back in 2017 to another group in 2025. Those rows list out different ways to calculate costs for work that wasn't finished. We're going to zero in on the most popular method and see how much its support changed over those 8 years. Back in 2017, there was a pretty clear winner. The most accepted method was to calculate the cost to finish the project from a very specific point in time. Made sense. But fast forward to 2025, and that whole consensus just fell apart. The method that was once the dominant view lost a huge amount of support. And this chart just makes that shift totally undeniable. Look at this. In 2017, support for this method was strong, nearly 61%. But by 2025, it had plummeted to just 39%. That's a massive drop. In just 8 years, the consensus completely evaporated. What was once standard practice is now not even the majority opinion. So this tells us something really important about what expertise even is. It's not some static book of rules that never changes. It's a living, breathing field where the best practices are always being debated and updated as the entire industry learns and grows.
So where does that leave us? I mean, if the experts themselves can't agree or change their minds over time, how can the legal system ever reach a solid conclusion? And that question brings us right back to where we started.
This is exactly why that four-step appraisal process is so incredibly important. It gives everyone a reliable, predictable framework to work within. It makes sure that every single case is investigated with the same level of care and transparency. The process itself acts as an anchor, right? It provides consistency and fairness even when the specific technical opinions inside that process are changing.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. This tension between a fixed legal process on one hand and a constantly evolving field of expertise on the other is just fascinating. It really shows that the search for justice isn't about finding some single perfect answer that lasts forever. It's about having the best possible system to navigate a world where the facts themselves are always on the move.